Hello, gathered friends, I'm Perura Nuva, and welcome to Bionicle Deep Dive, where we analyze the tropes, characters, and lore of LEGO Bionicle. In this video, I wanted to analyze and explore the Toa Salute, the significance of it throughout the series, and how LEGO managed to make fist bumps that actually made me cry. Let's dive right into it. As a sign of their brotherhood and camaraderie, Toa often salute each other by clanking their fists together. It's a show of respect, friendship, and unity between Toa. The Toa Salute is one of those things where, when it's introduced, it seems pretty innocuous, just a regular fist bump. But through repeated usages across various contexts, it gains a much greater significance, becoming a visual shorthand for the Toa truly acknowledging each other. The salute was introduced in the Mask of Light movie, and it initially seems to be just a bro fist, but as the movie progresses, it becomes a symbol of the friendship between Toa. The first time we really see it is at the Koli tournament. In these first instances, it doesn't seem to be much more than a fist bump, but, the Toa are just being friendly and clanking fists together, like when Pohatu does it to greet Tahu. It highlights the contrast between how friendly Pohatu is, while Tahu and Gali are rather cold to each other. Later on, after Gakoro wins the game, Pohatu and Gali fist bump each other to congratulate each other's teams. Pohatu then goes to do the same with Tahu, but Tahu's pouty about his village losing and turns away. Which, dick move, Tahu. You're seriously gonna leave Pohatu hanging? Pohatu? Literally the nicest guy on your team? You owe him, Tahu. The next time we see the Toa Salute is between Pohatu and Anua, when they greet each other in the town square of Onukoro. And again, this instance is just a bro fist between the two of them, but it also shows how close they are compared to some of the other Toa in the movie. Now, these first couple of fist bumps didn't have a whole lot of deep significance, but they established the pattern that this is how the Toa show their friendship and affection to each other. These were the fist bumps that were played straight, and now that the trope was established, each further instance of it adds new context and meaning, allowing it to become much more profound throughout the Bionicle story. In each case, being used as a poignant means of showing the development of the characters. Later in Mask of Light, after Tahu had finally recovered, he had been poisoned and driven insane by the Rakshi, with their corruption mixing with his own feelings of anger and pride, causing him to lash out and attack his fellow Toa. As it became clear the poison was killing him, Gali brought Liwa and Kopaka together in a last-ditch effort to heal him, and eventually she succeeded in washing away the disease. When Tahu finally wakes up, Gali comes up to him and asks if he is well. While at first he seems his usual gruff self, he softens quickly and responds that, while he's not well, he is alive, and in his sister's debt. Then he gently offers her his fist, and she meets it with hers. After spending the entire movie pushing Gali away and refusing to acknowledge the power of unity, Tahu has let go of his anger and pride, and is now using the salute to show Gali his gratitude and respect. The fist bump is their reconciliation and the culmination of their arcs in the movie, of starting off at odds with each other and now being friends. It's a soft, touching moment between the two that also shows the depth of the gesture and what it truly means to them. The next significant instance of the Toa Salute happens between Onawa and Whenua in Legends of Metronui. The Toa Metru had just needed to escape from underground to escape the Vaki, and reach the Colosseum to confront the false Turagaduma, and Whenua managed to carve a tunnel out for them and their vehicle. After they burst from the ground, Whenua is exhausted, yet satisfied that he could help his team when they needed him. Onawa comes up to him and says, "Hey, Glowhead!" And initially Whenua was expecting an insult, but then Onawa says, "Good job, brother," and clanks his fist. This scene is so sweet because it showed how much Onawa had grown. Onawa had been insulting and disrespecting Whenua and all the other Toa for the entirety of the Metronui arc, being slow to acknowledge their capabilities and believing the way he and the Pomatorn did things was better. While he and Whenua were trapped in their cell together, they nearly came to blows over it. But that was until the lesson he received from Turaga Likan. While they were in their prison cell, Likan gave each of the captured Toa Metru a task to complete, both to teach them life lessons and help them learn how to use their masks. Onawa consistently derided the other two for approaching their problems differently from how Po-Matorn usually do things. And so Lycaon lectured him that a Toa's duty is to all Matorn, regardless of village. And so Onawa's task would be to help his brothers with each of their tasks. Through this, Onawa learned to understand others more before judging them, and to appreciate his fellow Toa for their effort. And so he did. Whenua stepped up when his team needed him, and Onawa for the first time acknowledged this, and gave his brother Whenua his due respect. Alright, now, the Toa Salute between Turaga Lycaon and Vakama. This is the one. This is the one that makes me cry. Near the end of Legends of Metronui, Lycaon is dying after taking a blast from Makuta that was meant for Vakama. In his last moments, Lycaon says, "I am proud to have called you brother, Toa Vakama." And with that, he slowly raises his fist to Vakama's to give one last Toa salute, before placing his hand on Vakama's as his heart light goes out. This fist bump is all about Lycaon acknowledging Vakama as a Toa, and expressing his belief in Vakama and the other Toa Metru to find a way to save the people of their city. For years, Lycaon was the hero of Metronui, their hero, arguably one of the greatest Toa of all time. He was also the one who gave them their power and their mission. And in saluting Vakama and calling him brother, Lycaon is saying to Vakama, "You are my equal, my comrade, and I'm proud to have fought beside you." Vakama's entire journey through this arc is his struggles with self-doubt. He doesn't believe he is worthy to be a Toa. That theme of being worthy of the name Toa is one that recurs throughout the BIONICLE story, but especially here. And in this moment, Lycaon, Vakama's personal hero, the shining ideal of everything it means to be a great Toa, tells him he is worthy, that he is truly a brother Toa. And this is exactly what Vakama needed to hear to be able to jump back into the fight and do everything he can to stop Makuta and save the Matorn. And this is deepened when you compare this to earlier in the movie, when he says to Nidiki, "You lost the right to call me brother long ago." While we didn't know the full backstory when the movie came out, it was clear from these lines that Nidiki was a Toa who betrayed Lycaon. And this only becomes more meaningful when we actually know more about Lycaon's life and the Toa Mengai. Lycaon was betrayed not once, but twice by a Toa on his team, and all the rest were killed. His unwavering faith is not blind or naive. He knows deeply what it means for Toa to fail, to be unworthy. And after everything he's been through, for him to look at Vakama, this scared, insecure rookie Toa, and be proud to have called him brother? Oh god. And I think what adds even more to this is that this isn't Lycaon congratulating Vakama after a success. This is him reassuring him at the darkest hour, telling him to keep faith in himself and his team. At this point in the movie, everything has gone to shit, and there's literally no way for him to know that things even can get better. This wasn't a calm, quiet moment after the victory. This was in the middle of a battle they were actively losing. Moreover, this is in the middle of an apocalypse to them. The Great Spirit, his god, has fallen. His city, and likely all of the known world, has been devastated and destroyed by an enormous quake. All the Matorn of Metronui were trapped in endless sleep, and almost all of them were back at the Colosseum that was still under Makuta's control. They only managed to grab a handful of pods. Pods which, by the way, were currently drifting away in the sea with the other Toa desperately trying to grab them. They made a loose plan to flee the city, but they didn't know to where. They weren't fleeing to anywhere else that was part of the known Matorn universe, as those places were still within the reach of Makuta and his brotherhood. At this point, no one even knew of the existence of the island of Metronui. They were following the light, but that was extremely vague. Even if they did beat Makuta, which by no means was certain, they were going off into the unknown. And Makuta, at this point, was at his strongest. and right now had access to the most powerful mask in history. And now the only hope for the future is 6 untested heroes who will now have to find a way to win without Lee Khan's guidance. And their inexperience showed. Vakama tried to use the Mask of Time, but failed to control it, and would have died if Lee Khan hadn't stepped in. Vakama, whose crippling self-doubt led him to think of himself as a failure for the smallest thing, had just made a very real, very costly failure. And all Lee Khan had to say was to keep trusting in himself, and that he was proud to call him brother. It would be one thing if Lee Khan were to acknowledge Vakama as a Toa after they beat Makuta or won the day, but no. Lee Khan lay dying, knowing that he is leaving the world at its darkest, most broken hour, and that there is no direct sign that anything will get better. And in that moment, he chooses to believe unwaveringly in hope and in the heroes that he chose to carry on his legacy. And it is mind-blowing to me that all of that significance was packed into him giving a soft fist bump to Vakama. Whew. Okay, that was the big one. But there are still a couple more in the story with very good significance. In Maze of Shadows, there's this really short, heartfelt scene between Matthau and Nuju while they're walking through the tunnels trying to find a way back to Metronui from the island above. At this point, Matthau had nearly died twice on this journey, and it was leaving him uncharacteristically somber. Nuju welcomed the quiet, but wondered why, and Matthau told Nuju about his existential dread. At first, Nuju was his typical cold, analytical self, talking about how any of them could die at any moment on their quest. But then he told Matthau to remember one thing, that he's still alive. And with that, Nuju clenched Matthau's fist so quickly, Matthau almost didn't realize it happened, and then keep walking. A small, sweet moment of camaraderie between these two that so often find each other annoying. Those little reminders that, underneath it all, they still deeply care for each other. And, of course, Nuju coming in close with the Toa Vice Tsundere trope. And the final fist bump we'll look at today happened in the novelization of Web of Shadows, but was actually not included in the movie. Near the very end of the book, as Vakama and Nork are saying goodbye to each other, Nork thanks Vakama for allowing him to witness a legend. Although at first Vakama thought he was referring to Kitangu, Nork was actually referring to the great rescue that Toa Metru pulled off. Nork then said how, now they knew the Matoran were in safe hands, it freed the Rahaga to be what they were. Now, this was long before the decision to transform the Rahaga back into Toa. The Rahaga had hoped that Kitangu would be able to cure them of their mutation, but he couldn't, and now that the Matoran were truly in the care of heroes they could trust, they felt free to let go of their lives as heroes and fully embrace their lives as Rahaga and the protectors of the Rahi. And with that, Nork said that meant the last time he would use this gesture was to say thanks and offer Vakama his fist. This fist bump was Nork and the Rahaga fully saying goodbye to their lives as Toa, and passing the torch onto the Toa Metru. I wonder if the fist bump specifically was kept out of the movies because the movie never actually acknowledges the Rahaga's backstory as former Toa. Maybe they thought it would be too much going on and distract from the main plot, but I think they should have kept it, as the Rahaga's origin really adds so much depth to their characters. Though, it's also possible that the decision to make the Rahaga former Toa was made by the story team after the movie was already in production. I don't really know. Now those are all the main and deeply significant instances of the Toa Salute. There definitely were a few other instances scattered throughout the story, but these are the main ones that stick out to me as especially poignant. BIONICLE wasn't a story that got many chances to deeply explore its characters like some other stories do. It has dozens of significant characters, and the plot moves at a lightning-fast clip, both of which were cool aspects of the story that it utilized well. but it meant there wasn't much room for long explorations of everything that the characters were feeling. I heard it once that one Bionicle fan, I believe Gonal, once said that the Bionicle novels were like the zip file versions of other books, in that they have compressed within them way more information than initially appears, and that's really true. It's a credit to the skill of the writers, including Greg Farsty, who wrote many of these books, and all the other writers involved in the series, that they managed to pack in so much depth into such small nuggets of moments. The Bionicle characters are relatively simple, especially on the surface, but they also manage to be distinct and have arcs and progression. And while the story doesn't linger on it, it is filled with these little moments that pack in a tremendous amount of meaning into something as simple as a fist bump. But that's my analysis on the Toa Salute, a simple fist bump between friends that transformed into a gesture of incredible significance. What do you guys think? Do you also find the themes surrounding the fist bump impactful? And does it impress you how much character depth the writers of Bionicle managed to squeeze in, given how much the series had to cover? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, my gathered friends.